Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our June 6th work session of the council. Keeping everybody in the know, next month will be a combined meeting, so we'll have public comment and the work session all at the same time. Tonight, we will not have a public comment. And of course, we'll have some traffic calming issues that will be discussed during public comment next month, because I see all my friends who are coming to speak on that. So you don't have to stay, but if you do stay, please don't fall asleep on us. Let the record reflect, please, that all members of the council are present, save Ms. Crawford. I believe she's on the phone. Myosha, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Good evening. In that being said, all members are present and accounted for. Moving straight to city administrator update, Mr. Probst.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief tonight. A couple things we're working on. As you know, we've got some American Recovery Act funding on the way. Eligible projects are for stormwater, water and sewer, and broadband. And of course, we're evaluating what projects we have kind of waiting in the wings to apply some of that funding for over the next few years. Additionally, we're trying to prepare ourselves for any future federal infrastructure package that may pass down some funds to us. We want to be shovel ready as possible. We already have a lot of plans, concept plans, from streets and sidewalks and so on and so forth that we've been working on over the past few years. Some of them we've had to kind of push off. We can't really afford the price tag right now, but hopefully when some of this money comes in, if it comes in, we'll be ready to act on that. So we're just trying to prepare that in the background. And also, you mentioned it, the traffic calming. We're continuing to work with our city engineers on addressing all of the comments as best we can on the existing streets that were proposed, and also adding some other ones that came up over the course of the meetings we had. So we're working on all that and trying to address not only the functionality of them, the placement, but also the aesthetics of these devices as well. So I hope to get that back to you next month with some sort of, green light.
Perfect, thank you. Are there any questions for Logan? Hearing none, moving to central services, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you, sir. I'll be kind of quick, too. During the month of May, we had the cleanup event, which we posted on Facebook, that we had a little over 100 volunteers, roughly. We picked up just a little over 1,300 pounds of trash that day in about 4 hours. We had a good turnout. It's something we're hoping to do in the fall again, and maybe turn it into a 2-time-a-year event. For the month, combined with that, and then our crews, we picked up a little over 5,800 pounds of trash around the city, parks, different things. That was the biggest month we've had. So things are busy. People are outside. Weather's pretty. Obviously, COVID's kind of let up. We're hoping it stays that way. The CDBG 2020, we've started some easement work with the attorneys digging into things, and hopefully have that ready here in the next month or so to get everything going, get everything bid. Newsletter went out today. That'll cover the months of June, July, and August with some dates, events, happenings, fun stuff. And the only other little thing I got, and this will kind of steal from Danny and Solid Waste, next week we'll have a proclamation read for Waste and Recycling Workers Week. That'll be June 14th, June 18th through that week that we'll participate in. We've been in it every year, and this year we'll have an actual proclamation for the mayor to read. So I'll be glad to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Are there any questions for Chris? I will say, the Trash Pandas, raise your hands. We're second place in our group of volunteers numbers that came out on Community Cleanup Day, and they actually would have been first. We, of course, counted the scouts who outnumbered them, but we also counted our Public Works official volunteers, and that's the group that wins the pizza, and I'm going to get with Danny on that. So I appreciate your vested interest in the success of Monroe, and I admire each of you and appreciate your work. Moving to committee information, Mr. Gregory, Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Thompson, do you have that report?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Gregory. You have before you the financial status report as of April 2021. All expenses are trending below budget as of April, while our revenues continue to trend upward, including sales tax collections, which are at about 16% year over year. I have included a SPOS budget with my financial report. You'll see it on about page 6 of my report. This kind of gives you what our revenues and expenditures and the actual balance of the 2013 and the current 2019 SPOS, just kind of give you, since we talked so much about SPOS here lately with a lot of the projects going on, so I've included that. If you have any questions about that, please reach out to me and I'll be glad to explain it. As Mr. Probst had mentioned, we are getting the American Rescue Plan funding from the Department of Treasury. This will be allocated through the state, and we are slated to get about $5.1 million. We'll get 50% this year and 50% 12 months after the fact. We're still awaiting guidance from the Department of Treasury on how to get those funds, but we anticipate getting those sometime, hopefully this month. Because it's based on population, and we are under 50,000 in population. We are a non-entitlement city, so that comes from the state, and once it's funneled through the state, that's how we get our funding. And we will keep you updated on that and how those funds are spent over the next 4 years. Adam Fraley with the Malden and Jenkins, our auditors, will be here next week to present the final audited comprehensive annual financial report for 2020. And that is all I have. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Are there any questions for Ms. Thompson?
I just have one. That 2.55 million per year, or is it 5.1 per year?
It's 2.5 million this year and the 2.5 million 12 months later, after we get the first funding.
And I'd just like to say thanks again for making that extra splossed page so that we can see that. That is very helpful considering what we're all been looking at. If you haven't looked at it, it's pretty simple. Take it easy and see what's going on in there. And thanks again, Beth, for all the above and beyond that you do, and appreciate the way you look after our finances. Even with the American Rescue Plan, I know that there's some nice ways that they're going to be able to work on saving us some money. And so with Beth at the helm for the finances, we're doing all right. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Thank you, Beth. Norma Garrett, Airport.
Ms. Bailey?
Easy, quick news. Airport paving project is done. Final striping was finished. I sent y'all an email. I can't remember, was it Tuesday? No, it's Thursday night, about 10 o'clock. 9:55, they managed to check out of there and open everything back up 5 minutes before we had the airport scheduled to reopen, so perfect timing. It looked great. I think the reviews by the aviation committee of our community have been wonderful too. And you wouldn't think that would have been as easy a project as it was, but that was by far the easiest one I've been involved with the airport. So good weather, good contractor, and yeah, done. And I'll be glad to take any questions.
If there's no question for Chris, that'll be all.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett. Thanks, Chris. I know you worked your tail off on that one, and I hear from those pilots probably more often than I
do
would
too.
desire, being related to a couple of them. But yeah, they're happy folks, and that's, I appreciate it. It's good work. Mr. Dickinson, Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Smith, Solid Waste, please.
Thank you, Mr. Dickinson. We completed one of the projects, the transfer station tipping floor. It was done May 15th. Our transfer station tonnage is trending up again for the month of April compared to last year, over 738 tons, so that's good news. I do have Great American Cleanup stats. This is from Monday through Friday. We collected 6,900 tons and 49 strap tires. We'll be starting our third phase of our upgrade on the recycling carts. Our Winston customers will be distributing those carts out on June 7th. We'll start them on the week follow, the 14th. On the glass collection, we did add about 11 more customers. We're up to 200, not 200, but 2.2 tons for the month of April. And I do have the footnotes in there, you know, just especially with the recycling carts. We getting better, but that's still been a little confusion on how to, or what to put in the container. So we are tracking contamination rates, and we have developed a 3-strike system, and we will continue to educate the customers. If they cannot, do it right, we'll pull the cart. And the last thing I have is holiday schedule. We're in it this week. Tuesdays and Wednesday customers will be serviced tomorrow. Thursday customers are on schedule. And I take any questions you might have.
Danny, how are you communicating the problems with the contamination of recycling?
We're doing the post, social media, and
To the individuals that are violating it, I guess.
we're going to be doing direct mail and direct contact.
All right, nothing else for that. Streets and Transportation, Mr. Still.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. Currently, as you know, it's heated up. That means the grass is growing. Now we need a little rain on it so we can get some greenery back on the right-of-ways instead of some brown. But guys are out picking up trash, cutting right-of-ways. Every day, we're doing a ton of asphalt work right now, catching up with the utility cuts. Did some saw cutting today in prep for the deep patching portion of our LMIG program over on Washington, Bryant Road, and Pinecrest. Got some final numbers back for the milling contractor. So here the next day or two, we'll be coordinating with the contractor as well as the county on getting those guys in to get those streets milled down, have the county come in and pave them. Probably looking at mid to late summer for that part of the project. Then it'll be striped. If you've been down Madison in the last day or so, today they did some striping out there. That project's about to wrap, and it looks really, really good throughout that corridor. Next month, I'll be bringing some quotes for some parking lot rehab at the PD. Met with one individual today, meeting with another tomorrow to get some numbers to bring back for you for that. But our guys are wide open. A couple of sidewalk projects on the horizon before we pave the streets that correlate with those. Just busy, busy, busy. I'll be glad to take any questions.
Appears there are no questions. That's all we have, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, that's got it. Thank you, Jeremiah. Thank you, Danny. Mr. Little, Utilities?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Thompson, the electric and telecom report, please, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Little. Electric usage is back up, bouncing back up from last year. We're up 7.65% over 20, which we expected to be back closer to normal. That number is just about 0.5% under what we saw between 15 and 19. So some more normal usage once we're back into the spring of things. Publix is going well. We set the first transformers last week. We had to build down to a certain point where they needed some more temporaries, but we should have that wrapped up after we finish on Etten Drive. We started a project with 4 commercial buildings right up Etten Drive, and we need to get that done so the guy can get his project moving forward. But the Publix project is going as well as it could. We will start the underground in the front as soon as we finish Etten Drive, and that shouldn't take a couple, 3 weeks, maybe 4. We should be wrapped up there. They are cutting their entrance in off of 11, if you'll see. You'll notice a big ductile iron pole sitting about 2 feet off the curb. They moved the road by 5 feet without calling us. But we worked with their engineer and we got it squared away where that pole will be fine. Fiber projects, Wellington, we ran into Stone Mountain. Basically, we're changing technology. Going to try to shift to a stitch bore instead of a bore. But the cabinets have come in, the 3 cabinets we have come in. We're getting ready to get those installed and start doing some actual installs in houses. We moved over to a subdivision off of Panhandle Road that we're having a lot better dirt, no rock. And we should wrap that up with the installation next week. We'll be looking at the next one, which would probably be back toward Hillside, or Hillcrest Apartments. I've been looking at that, trying to figure out how to get in there without tearing up too much. But that should be the next one. Downtown lights, we've got 3 of them installed on the backside of the courthouse. If you hadn't been over there to see them, they look good. We will start, hopefully, into this week, first of next week, putting them in the downtown area, and we'll jump block by block. We were waiting for the banners and the new banner attachments to go to on the poles. They just came in today. So we'll get the Centennial banners up along with the lights up at the same time. Won't have to go back to the pole twice. And I'll take any questions you may have.
I was going to ask you about Belmead. I know you had asked for some help with that project, but I hadn't seen any.
The contractor called in the locates Friday, so he should be starting sometime the end of this week, first of next. First of next week's when he told me. It's just been getting contractors on site has been the problem.
I've asked you this, and sorry, I don't remember your answer. The lights at Highway 11 and 78 coming off the exit ramp?
The wire's installed, the lights and poles are here. We just gotta get time to go up there and drill some holes and put some concrete in the ground. I talked to Logan last week, and what we may do is just stand up what we have up there now. The time it's gonna take to make all that working is drilling the holes, pouring the concrete, and putting the 10 new poles up. But I can go in there and get the existing ones, the ones that are still standing, get those hooked up, and that's probably what we'll do.
Okay.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Mr. Middlebrooks, water, sewer, and gas.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Just a couple of updates on a few projects. Highway 186, we're at the halfway point. We've got 13,000 feet of that 6-inch gas main in. It's pressure tested and gassed up, and got some new customers on it already. We're pulling off of it for a short period of time to go to Southview Drive. We've got some rehab over there that's a steel main that's eat up, so we're gonna go over and take care of that job ourselves, and then we'll return to the 186 job. The Alcovey River 138 sewer is coming along. The contractor's building his roads, stringing pipe material, so they should be starting to install sewer here in the next few weeks. I'll skip the sewer plant design since it's coming up here shortly. The 30-inch raw water line, Wiedemann and Singleton has completed that design. It's in EPD's hands now for approval, so it's moving along really nicely. And the 18-inch, the MAB's installing. They've got the section on Mayfield in, and they're making their way towards the plant. And it's moving along really well. And the Monroe-Loganville water line is completed. The line's chlorinated. We're waiting on the pump station. Got some control work that's got to take place there. Unfortunately, the owner and the operator passed away 2 weeks ago, so we've lost the main guy. So we're a little bit behind schedule now. So been dealing with that, but we should be up and running for too much longer. If you got any questions, I'll be more than happy to
Rodney, on
answer
the
those.
30-inch raw water line, there was some discussion about making it a 24.
Yeah, it's been reduced to a 24 now. After Wiedemann, we returned it to Wiedemann, who did the initial design. We found out that the additional 6 inches of pipe wasn't going to improve us much as far as carrying capacity. It's only about 1 million gallons a day more.
With a significant difference in cost.
Huge difference in cost.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other questions for Rodney? Oh. Well, Rodney, then we'll take up the engineering services for the water treatment plant.
Okay, this is the, asking for your approval to have Wiedemann and Singleton to begin the engineering and design for the new clear well at our water plant. This is a 1 million gallon clear well. It was in our water future water plans several years back. We've reached a point now that it's time to get started on it. It's actually one of our bond projects as well. Weedham and Singleton, you see their proposal there, it's $207,490. And that's for the design, bidding, and also the construction inspections. If you got any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those as well.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we recommend to the full council approval for Wiedemann and Singleton Engineering Services at a cost of $207,490.
Motion's by Mr. Larry Bradley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Tyler Gregory. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. We recommend that to full council. Next item, Mr. Middlebrooks.
This is the long-awaited Jacks Creek wastewater treatment plant rehab. Had the bid opening last Thursday. Low bid, we had five bidders, I'm sorry. Low bid was $5,521,591. We originally budgeted 7.5 for this project. If you got any questions, I'm sorry. Oh, yes, it's also a bond project.
What's the expected completion time on something like that?
A year.
What are our steps after we complete this phase?
Phase one, basically all this gets us is the new equipment on the headworks, which is the bar screens, grit collection, and it converts one of our digesters. So that's all we get. No extra capacity at all. It's just equipment. Phase two, we get into that. However, all this equipment will handle the new projected, the 5.5 million. So we won't have to replace any of this once we go through the next phase.
As we've grown, what are we averaging?
Right now, we're about 1.8, 1.9,
Okay. Out of 3.2?
2.4.
4? Are there any other questions? Is there a motion to approve the project?
I just wanted to ask on this vendor, do you have good recommendations?
I actually spoke with the company that we're getting the equipment from, and they came very highly recommended for them. They've done several jobs with Timble and Associates.
Thank you.
Was very happy to hear that.
Yes.
I move that we accept the bid and move forward with the project.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Gregory, second by Mr. Larry Bradley. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We approve that and recommend it to full council.
Thank you.
Mayor, that's all we have.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Moving to public safety, Mr. Bradley.
Yeah, for the fire department, Chief Dykes, if you can give us a report from the fire department, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Bradley. If you would, just briefly, the stats are there in front of you. We responded to 174 incidents in the month of April. Two things that I do want to touch on. If you look at the page that breaks the incident typing down, you'll see that there were 3 motor vehicle versus pedestrian incidents that occurred about over a 5-day period. We had 3 incidents with 5 patients total. I just ran the report before I came over here, and I'm thankful to say that we have not reported any additional motor vehicle pedestrian incidents since then. But it was slightly alarming that we had so many there so close together in time that I was afraid that that was a trend that we didn't want to see starting. And the only other, the main fire of significance had $7,500 worth of estimated loss, and I'd like to commend Chief Watts' personnel because he had one of his patrol officers in the area, and that officer was able to discharge his fire extinguisher, not fully put the fire out, but at least keep it in check until our first engine got there and finished the job. So just a little bit of appreciation there of how public safety works well together. And one thing that I didn't get in the report, but I was able to factor up last week, the EMA closed down the vaccination pod. They have completed what they're going to do. They did approximately 1,600 COVID vaccines, and our department total, once I looked at all the rosters, was able to provide 137 and a half man-hours to assist in that endeavor. So that was good for the community, but I'll entertain any questions that anyone has.
Always interesting to me from your reports and looking at the many things that you do to serve the community that are not putting out fires.
Yes, sir.
And that's very commendable. We appreciate it. And we appreciate the cooperation with the police department. So Chief Watts, you can give your report now.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Well, you can definitely tell that summer's here and COVID's going away, because our calls for service has gone up 733 from this time last year. And you can see our area checks, we're still maintaining around the 8,000 mark on that. Our court cases are up, and our Part 1 crimes are up just a little bit. Our Part 2 crimes are actually down from where they were this time last year. And you can see our adult arrests is 67, juvenile of 7. We had 3 major incidents, and I won't go into any details on that, but our officers did a good job on working all 3 of those incidents. And one of the things we have implemented here recently is a traffic unit, designated one officer to specifically to traffic with complaints of speeding and stuff in the areas of like Breedlove, Alcovey. And then we've had, the issues out on 138. I know Michael Edgerton, we've been having a lot of accidents out there on that area as well. And other than that, I'll entertain any questions if you should have any.
Chief, with the large increase in calls for service, is there any particular type of issues or calls that are coming in on a big increase?
Well, I mean, you can see, you have the breakdown of those calls. I think that, every year about this time, as it starts to get warmer, the days get longer, we just start seeing an increase in activity, criminal activity, and a lot of that's in some of the high crime areas that we've already designated over the years. One of the things I do want to mention before we go into the approval of this is keep Captain Mike Matthews in your prayer. I don't know if you guys have seen, we did the benefit golf tournament for him. We did a Channel 2 interview on last Friday, trying to get out and get a GoFundMe up for him. Originally, it was for a kidney transplant because his kidneys are failing. He's currently on dialysis. Back on the 13th, we actually had to make entry to his home to get him out. And luckily we did, because I don't believe he would have survived that. And because of that incident of the bacteria and stuff in his system, now he has to have heart surgery because it's damaged one of the valves in his heart. I saw him this afternoon. His brother's in town. We actually were able to, with the help of Paul and them, were able to get power of attorney turned over to his brother. They're going to be transporting him from Athens this afternoon to Emory to get a second opinion on whether they can actually do the heart surgery because he's so weak at this time. So please keep him in your prayers. He's, we tried to retire him back in 2017 when he had 23 years of service. He was denied disability benefits. And I'm grateful to the mayor and city manager and council for allowing him to come back on and work. And he's actually 1 year away from being able to retire from the city. But he's still got a lot ahead of him to overcome. So thank you guys for doing that for him.
Thank you, Chief. Any more questions for?
I had one question for Chief Dykes, real quick. It was about the breakdown.
Yes.
It's showing just over 30% of all calls were dispatched and canceled en route.
Yes.
Is that a normal range for that breakdown, for that percentage?
Since COVID, yes, EMS has done a much better job of doing a quicker job of canceling our units if on the update it seems like it's something that they're not going to need additional assistance on. What I don't like, going on what you're saying, that what I don't like about that categorization is it does not tell you what at all we were dispatched to. That also includes anyone's industry or residential fire alarm that goes off, that the alarms, that they punch in their code, and while we're en route, the alarm system comes back and company says, hey, they validated their code, you can cancel. So unfortunately, a lot of things get lumped into that, but I would say over the past year that number has increased, which just means that the numbers from the 311 and 321 category have changed as well. The 321 and 311 have gone down as canceled en routes have gone up, if that makes sense.
Yep, makes sense. Cool, thank you.
Any other questions? We have one item on the agenda about for the committee to approve the surplus and sale of seized vehicles. Chief, can you brief us on that?
Yes, sir, and I'm sure Jeremiah will be happy about this. We have about 15 seized vehicles that are out front of Public Works that, and I know Ms. Debbie and Chris can attest to this, it's a tedious task to get everything lined up, to be able to get them ready to go on GovDeals to be sold, but we do have 15 seized vehicles, and I believe it's 5 that we have obtained through the 1033 program, the excess property program, that some of those still have to get titles for, but a lot of them we do have titles for, and once we have all, we'd like to list all 20 of these vehicles, just get approval from the council, be able to list them on GovDeals to sell.
So you will list these, and then they'll be, as people put in bids for them, correct?
Yes. Once we get the remaining titles for the rest of them, we'll list them all at one time. And like I said, I know Jeremiah, I know Logan's ready to see them gone. You won't see all these vehicles cluttering up the front yard of the Public Works over there.
Anybody have any questions concerning this? Do I have a motion to send to the full council the request for this to be posted?
Move to approve.
Or I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Dixon, second by Mr. Radley. All in favor?
Aye.
That's all we have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, everybody. Moving to planning and code, Ms. Malcolm.
Yes, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, Ms. Malcolm. The report from April is fairly typical for the code department. We had 206 inspections in that timeframe. I wrote 48 permits, had 9 new businesses opened up, 10 were closed. A lot of those were change of ownership, so they weren't really gone. They're just changing ownership or changing names. Major projects ongoing, obviously the road's still going. Grace Church is hopefully going to be getting more COs in the very near future at 203 Bold Springs Avenue. City marshals removed 74 signs from the roadway. They wrote 152 repair cleanup orders and did re-inspections on those. The second city marshal, Ben Goga, he was being trained in that time frame. So now that they're split off and working independently, those numbers should go up significantly to get a little bit more enforcement on that. In the Planning Commission, they had 3 requests for COA, which they granted. Actually, 2 were granted, 1 was withdrawn, and a request for a variance and a rezone, which both were subsequently granted by the council. If you have any questions about the balance of the report, I'll be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions? If none, thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Ms. Malcolm. Moving to economic development, Ross Bradley.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Crosby, would you mind sharing that report with us, please?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Actually, in the report are a couple of those pictures of the COAs that had been granted over the past several months through HBC and P&Z. And we have a lot more just renovations and exterior improvements that are happening now. So that's just an example of some. DDA still administers the facade grant program that assists with some of these for our downtown businesses. It's a matching reimbursable grant. 3 of those properties pictured, actually 4, have applied for facade grants that are pictured there. Just a recap from last month's concert. I think it's the largest May concert we've ever had. And the June one is this Friday. So we'll be back out on Downtown Green again this Friday with Monsters of Yacht Band. It's a new one, but we're having great table sales, and hopefully we'll have another wonderful event. We have hired a new market manager for the farmers market. Her name's Audrey Fuller. She has a farm here in Walton County and has been involved with the Walton County Food Alliance for the last couple years and has been a part of the market in the past. So we're pleased to have Audrey. She's done a great job so far. There's a lot of moving pieces to get all those vendors in and out and to make Saturdays happen, but it's going smoothly now. There's a lot of other things in the report. One thing that's not on here that I wanted to mention is that 2 things. One, our Citizen Steering Committee for the city branding effort had their follow-up meeting with all the public engagement, and Carl Vinson Institute kind of gave some options of where the branding direction can go, and that was a very positive meeting, and they're all excited about what'll be revealed to the community as we continue down this process. And that'll be end of late fall, around the bicentennials, when we hope to roll out the new brand and messaging. And then we are having our first meeting with Lord Atkins Sargent. That's the firm that will be doing the master plan for Blaine Station and writing the planned commercial district zoning for that whole project. So we're meeting on site this week, and they're getting underway, and that, hopefully they'll have that pattern book and all those details back before you in the next few months.
Awesome, thank you. Any questions for Ms. Crosnick?
Do you have a date for the farm to table, and are you going to try to?
Yes, we're planning on finding a Sunday evening in the fall for Farm to Table when it cools back down. So I think October is what we're targeting. The Farm to Table Planning Committee needs to schedule their meeting soon to get that rolling, but that is the plan. So we'll do the Farm to Table ticket sales from last year. We gave options for people to donate a portion of their ticket or to get a full refund. So all those have all been taken care of, and so we will sell tickets totally new when we reschedule it in the fall.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Sadie, two things. One, the Flower Festival is,
June 19th is the Flower Festival.
and that will be basically all over town. Do we have anything going?
All day, it'll be 8:30 to 4. There's a number of classes. At this point last year, if you recall, we shut down a portion of Spring Street. Court Street's closed because Farmers Market happens that day, and then we also did Washington, so just those little side streets. We don't typically shut down Broad Street for that one, but there seems to be a lot of interest in it, so we are reevaluating capacity for downtown that day. It starts at 8:30 when the market starts. It goes all the way to 4 p.m. So the Art Center will have drop-in classes all day, lots of different events. There'll be floral displays all over town. There'll be a professional floral design competition, as well as an amateur floral design competition, and a number of different classes that people can register for online that are all related to floral design or projects and how to plant. And there's also free demonstrations that will be in the market throughout the day.
Also, I guess this would go under this same report at the farmer's market next Saturday on the 12th. You pay $20 to Hands of Hope, you can hit me in the face with a pie. Some reason that's getting a lot of participation this year. That's to raise money for their all-inclusive playground. You good?
Yes, sir, thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving to Ms. Crawford. Myosha, you still there?
Yes, I am.
Parks, please, ma'am.
Mr. Bailey, please.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick updates. Pilot still busy. Good crowds out there all the time. Weather's been great. Hope the rain kind of holds off. Maybe in the evenings and the afternoons that it shows us coming in the next week and a half. Matthews Park, I'd actually met Ms. Crawford on site. It's been about 2 weeks ago, I believe. And we walked the area after last month's meeting to kind of discuss location of if we add an additional bathroom, if we place another 2 to 3 pavilions on site, look at roadside landscaping. I've engaged Keckenwood to take a look at the dam because the standpipe's not actually draining right now, which is a little bit alarming, but hopefully it'll be a simple fix. We'll get the side boom out, clear the bank off, and try to investigate and see, maybe it's just stopped up. But I wanted to take a look at that while we're getting into that. You never know what you're gonna find. But other than that, we met, Jeremiah and I actually met a contractor this morning to work on getting paving bids. We've got another one tomorrow, and then a couple of contractors to meet as far as building the pavilions. The restroom we know is gonna be somewhere around 60 to 70,000. My goal is, so that we have a definitive project in front of us, is to bring that back to you guys next month with an actual project budget and a request, so we can have that approved in front of us and get that going, get it knocked out, so we can move forward. So I felt like that was probably the best option instead of just doing pieces here and there. Let's get everything approved at once and continue forward.
I know at one time we had talked about Wi-Fi in the parks. Is that part of the next phase?
That's something that I think we desperately need. Pilot, Matthews, different places. Mr. Thompson
Right, you
can
might be able to
probably.
figure that out, all right.
We're blowing the fiber to the pilot park in the next week or two. Software's up and running. Out there at Matthews is going to be a little different. We've got our conduit, we didn't plan to run out that far, but we can get out there. It's also a bigger site, and it wasn't part of our initial plan, but we could probably get it up there around the pavilions.
Do we have it at Childers now?
No.
And do our security cameras, they don't run off Wi-Fi?
What's that?
We talked about security cameras for the bathrooms.
We can.
We can do that.
run 'em
Chris
off
and I talked
fiber
about
or
that.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, over fiber.
Need
Fiber would
something
be
to be
better.
able to
Exterior
transport.
of the restrooms, just for clarification.
Yeah.
Outside the restaurant.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
I'm going to take this one because Moshe can't see y'all. Are there any other questions? Moshe, did you have anything else?
I did have one other thing. I don't know if, Chris, after you and I, maybe I need to be in the meeting. I don't know if you all can hear me well enough. But after you and I visited the park, I took a walk on the other side of the park. And there is, I guess it was a shed there years and years ago, but there is place for pipes and all that stuff for restroom where you all said you couldn't get it over there. But there was one there before. I thought I remember when I was younger, and the space is actually cleared off, and you can see it more clearly now. So there is something like on the other side where you cross the bridge and walk over there. It was really covered up. So if you want to take a look over there when you get a chance.
Yeah, we'll have to walk out there and take a look at it. Obviously, I don't remember it. I'm a little bit younger, I think. But yeah, we can take a look at it and we'll see. If it's closer to the road, that would help.
It's closer to the road.
Okay, I mean, that would be possible. We just have to look at whether we can get utilities to it and we're comfortable with everything of how we're going, because I know we'll have a pavilion on the other side that we had talked about, and then we'll replace the metal one that's there, move that metal building probably maybe down to Public Works or somewhere else. We can use it in the city, and then put a pavilion there where that other restroom was. And then we've also looked at, and I didn't add this earlier, we'll do some concrete sidewalks to the restrooms, just so that keeps us kind of within ADA compliance.
Is there a plan at Matthews to repave that parking lot once everything's installed?
Yes, that's, I've met with 2 contractors, got another one coming tomorrow, so we can take a look at it. And everybody keep fingers crossed that it is not seal bid pricing. So, I'm hoping I can get one under 100,000.
Are there plans to, used to there was the kind of nature walk and all that stuff, and I know we've talked about it back and forth, and I just can't remember. Are there plans to kind of rehabilitate that, to make it look a little nicer as far as, the disc golf group has done an awesome job at just making it more attractive as you walk through those kind of things.
Yeah, and I mean, that's something, we can look at, we can take mulch, put it around, or do whatever we want to, reincorporate a path, because I do remember that when I was a kid, going out there on field trips. And I think Krista had actually been out there, Krista Calloway, taking a look at a couple of things, what they could put on the backside as far as like a little, can't find the word, kind of natural trees, what's kind of natural to the area.
It was an
there.
arboretum.
The natural flora.
Yeah, an arboretum.
Arboretum.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't think of it.
Because we're going to be introducing the fauna through perhaps the fish.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever we.
We'll throw another one out there.
That's kind of why I mentioned, coming back next month, because, we got a lot of ideas and we got to figure out ways to pay for it all.
Yeah. So we're going to come up with a
there's
plan.
got to be a definitive plan and a cap to this, or I think we get into a little bit of trouble.
Well, how far are we there was a budget for Matthews, right?
Well, There was. It also entailed purchasing additional properties, and adding trails back and throughout that. It was close to $1 million for that, I believe. And then I think we kind of pushed off those further acquisitions after we were donated the land on 138 to then push some of that there. So that's kind of where it stood. I was kind of left with a box of crayons and a piece of paper to kind of figure out what we're going to do here, there, and everywhere. And then, like I say, it just, after meeting with MIOSHA and walking around, taking a look at what we could do in different spots and different areas and what was feasible.
Is it a significant number once we remove what we were gonna use for land purchasing and just look at improvements for the park?
I wish you'd asked me this last month, had a number in front of me.
That's
I
okay.
want to say that we originally, I think it was 979,000 was the original proposed budget. Now, that was prior to lumber prices, paving, everything going astronomical. I think if you remove the land acquisitions, and I think that removed roughly $500,000, because that removed those additional trails that went further out, and removed purchasing that, different easements, different things. So, I mean, that gets you back to kind of what we've discussed. I mean, we spent 158 out there, and then if we throw this additional, that gets you to around that 450 total range. So, I mean, you're still within the ballpark.
And did we come up with a number for that whenever we decided to move forward with the financing?
Yeah, we're okay with that. I don't want us to get stuck on spending that number that we budgeted on a concept 4 or 5 years ago.
Sure.
I want us to accomplish our goals of, providing the infrastructure that we all want. And hopefully we can do it as cheaply as possible, right? And get it all done. And I also want to note that wherever we put the pavilion and bathroom and all that, we want to make sure that it's secure. I think our safest parks are the ones that are most visible. So I know Chief Watts and his crew spends a lot of time out there patrolling or dealing with whatever may come across. But I just want the security aspect to be there, not just for, Wi-Fi cameras, but also the ability for patrol officers to easily have view of what's going on. So that's going to be a critical issue.
Well,
when we go.
and two, the one issue with the restroom on the other side is right now the contract that we have with Cintas, they can essentially be in a full concrete bathroom. We can pressure wash, clean. They've got to be able to get a machine to that. So it provides a few logistical challenges. So that's just something to consider. I mean, you've got the cost of the restroom, to put an additional out there, but then there's getting the infrastructure situated back, not knowing what condition everything is, and then just the maintenance of it. So that's why I think, and we talked about it, and two, didn't have enough time to put all this together and feel comfortable with it. To bring it back next month, line item, and we go through and you guys check off and say yay or nay, and that's what we proceed with.
Sounds good. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Moshe, did you have anything else?
Is there any more questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Crawford. Moving to items of discussion, the public hearing of the ordinance to amend the official zoning map. Mr. Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Like it says, this is an ordinance to amend the official zoning map. It's basically a periodic cleanup in addition to the zoning map to show all the adopted changes that we've made through the zoning process, and also to take opportunity to correct any errors that were found. In addition to that, we're also addressing the infill overlay district and the central business district, and adding up and clearing up the language related to that and reflecting it on the map.
Basically, pretty much everything we discussed at that retreat
Yes, sir.
4 or 5 months ago. Are there any questions for Mr. Kelly? Hearing none, moving to the zoning ordinance, code text amendment number 10, Mr. Kelly.
Yes, sir, and that's similar in nature. It's to define the IOD more clearly and the allowable uses. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get to the portion of the packet here. So it's basically to clear up the CBD language and move it into a different category than the overlay that it was, and make it a zoning category. If anybody's got any questions or anything like that, we'll be happy to try and entertain them. But that's basically what that text amendment is for, IOD and CBD language.
Thank you, Patrick. Are there any questions? Mr. Kelly?
Was I correct in seeing that 750 square feet is the new minimum for houses being built inside the overlay? Is that correct?
What section are you on? Table?
It is table 9, page 169.
Bear with me. I'm only about 20 pages away.
It's, yeah, special design standards and exceptions for the CBD overlay, and then table 9 with it on page 169.
59 or 69?
169.
I don't think that's right.
That's ground floor area, so if you look back for reference, it should be 1,300 square feet.
Yeah.
I think that was exactly right. Minimum square footage in IOD is 1,300, so that 750 is listed as ground floor area. That's correct.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Are there any other questions?
Since these are, both these items you just mentioned are public hearings, so if the public wants to look at this ahead of time, what is their best way to access it?
They can contact the code office. They can come in and review a map. We can allow appointments to come do that. We can email it.
And they can also reference this packet from this meeting, and it'll be on the agenda for next week's meeting as well.
Moving to the preliminary plat review, 1301 Alcovey Street subdivision, Patrick.
Yes, sir. This is a preliminary plat review for, like I said, 1301 Alcovey Street. It's a 56-lot subdivision that was designed quite some time ago before the downturn. They're just applying for new approval for a redesigned preliminary plat to meet our current ordinances. We have taken some note of some technical deficiencies on the plat, but nothing really glaring. So we've recommended approval for that based on addressing those comments from Brad Callender, the city planner. And we can approve it with those technical changes pending.
But it goes over to Vine Street, right?
The land fronts on 3 roads, Vine Street, Alcovey Street, and I think it touches Criswell as well.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Are there any other questions for him? Moving to the application for spirituous liquors and beer and wine on-premise consumption at the Brown Fig. Mr. Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sure the attorney will concur that the application is in order. One thing that has brought up some questions, and I just wanted to clear up, I spoke with the applicant about the food requirements, because it's been called a martini bar, which we don't allow just bars, so they will be subject to the food percentages and total sales.
Thank you. Any questions for Patrick? Hearing none, we have 2 first readings next week. First is the ordinance to amend the official zoning map, and the other is first reading for the zoning ordinance code text amendment number 10 that you just discussed. Moving to the mayoral update, a few things real quick. GMA meeting, they just announced this morning that they are having that in person from August 6th through the 10th. Registration for hotels and classes is going to be Friday, Debbie? Next Tuesday. So if you could go through and get your choices, and if you did that tonight before you leave, then you don't have to worry about it anymore. So that's all at your seats. Next, Logan and I have been working with DOT, with David Thompson and other area officials on our countywide transportation plan. We're looking at a 43% increase in population over the next 30 years. So we need to get those folks in, around, and out of Monroe as safely and efficiently as possible. So we've been working on that. We're also looking at 10,000 additional jobs by 2050 as well. So she's been working, the nice lady from DOT has been putting together quite a bit of information. So each of you has the most up-to-date notes from those meetings. Finally, this morning, you mentioned that we've closed down our emergency management mass vaccination sites. Good news is, it was very successful here. Good news, they've also closed down the mass vaccination sites around the state. The bad news is, the state of Georgia is 51st out of 56. That's including all states and territories. You can pretty much get vaccinated anywhere. And we have an issue with the number of people who just don't trust it. I'm not going to get into who's, whys, or whats, but if it is something that you think is absolutely necessary, please pass to your constituents that the closer we get to an 80% level, the better our chances of herd immunity. I've gotten mine as directed by Ms. Kirk. So the good news is, the good news is cases are down, but the bad news is hospitalizations and deaths are both up right now, as in up almost 100% over last month. So if you can encourage people to do that, I would certainly appreciate it. That's all. I need a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Good night, everybody. Thank you for coming.